Going to be working with inequalities. An inequality is a mathematical sentence that compares expressions. It'll contain the symbols of less than, greater than, or less than, equal to, or greater than, equal to. Here's an example of a number sentence in which we will be graphing. A number n is greater than 1. So n is greater than 1. So when we graph inequalities, we want to graph any number that could be put in place of n. So for example, a number that's greater than 1 might be 5. So we could say 5 is greater than 1. Well, is 5 the only number that's greater than 1? No, we could say 100 is greater than 1. Whoops, 1. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through and graphing all possibilities. We want to go ahead and state using an arrow all of the possibilities that could go in place of that number that we choose to use. So this is what we're going to be using. We're going to be going through and actually graphing these. So there's really a couple different things that you have to understand. First of all, we're going to be using circles on a number line. So we're going to draw a circle on the number that's stated in the inequality. That'll be our first step. Our second step is we have to decide if it's going to be a filled in circle or an open circle. If the symbol is less than or greater than, so it does not have that line underneath, we're going to leave the circle open, meaning it does not include that number. If the number or if the symbol has that line underneath, like the greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, then we're going to color in that circle, meaning it includes that number that our circle is on. And then our final step will be to go ahead and draw our arrow. Okay, so we're going to use a number line, and I'll show you a couple different ways because I'm not going to expect you on your whiteboards to constantly draw and redraw number lines, or as well as on your homework. So I'll show you a shortcut version after we practice a couple of these. Okay, so here's an example of something that we might graph. Here I have b is greater than or equal to 0. So we have to first step find the number 0, and we're going to put a circle on it. So here's 0. And since it has that line underneath, that tells me there's enough to color in the circle. So we're including that our statement could include 0. And now we need to decide what direction our arrow is going to go. So if I said b was greater than 0, give me an example of a number that's greater than 0. Maybe 5. 5 is greater than 0. So where is 5? Well, 5's over here, which means my arrow is going to go this direction. It's going to include any number that falls to the right side of the number 0. Shortcut version, you could maybe do a really quick sketch like this. The number that we're graphing on is 0. And then that way I don't have to include all of my numbers. I could do a filled in circle and then show my arrow because I don't want you to have to spend all of your time drawing a number line. So if I give you a worksheet with a number line, that's one thing, but if it's homework out of the book, you can go ahead and use this shortcut version like this. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so here I have a is greater than 4, so a is bigger than 4. So I'm going to go to the number stated, and I'm going to put a circle. So 4, put a circle on my 4, and then I have to decide from looking at my symbol if it's going to be colored in or not. Well, there's no line underneath, so that means we're going to leave it open. And then if a is bigger, well, what's a is greater than? It's being eaten. So it's a bigger number. So a bigger number than 4 might be 10. Okay, 10's over here. So my arrow has to go to the right again. So I just found out that this is what my graph would look like. If I was going to do a shortcut version, it would look something like this. Just showing that every number that falls on the right-hand side of the number stated would be included. Now here, we didn't color in the 4 because it was not also equal to 4. I could not put 4 in place of a and it would be a true statement because 4 is not greater than 4, it's equal to. So that's what that line underneath means, is that we could also substitute in that number and it would be a true statement. Okay, here's one that's a little bit different. So here they switched around and they put the C in the back. So it doesn't matter. We're still, if you struggle with greater than, less than, The other rule you can use is you can say, well, think of the open mouth eats the bigger number. So like obviously here it's eating the C. So C is the bigger number. Bigger numbers always fall to the right. So here we're going to go to -3, put our circle, and decide if it's going to be filled in filled in or open. And looking at our symbol, there's no line underneath, so we're going to leave it open. Now, if -3 is less than C, well, C is the bigger number, it's getting eaten, bigger numbers fall over here. So far, all of ours have fallen to the right. That's not always going to happen, it's just so far that's what we've been working with. Okay, so let's do another one. Here we've got 3 is greater than or equal to X. So we're going to go to the number stated, which is 3, put our circle. Now this time we've got this line underneath. So that means we have enough to color in our circle. So it's going to be a filled in circle, meaning we could substitute in 3 where X is, and 3 is equal to 3. So that is a true statement. Now I have to decide what direction my arrow is going to go. So if 3 is the bigger number, because that's the one getting eaten, smaller numbers fall this way. So here we finally had one where we had our arrow going to the left. If you were going to do a shortcut version, it would look like this. Okay. All right, so I'm going to have you guys try these 4. So you're going to go ahead and pause your video and work your way through these 4 using your whiteboard. And you can use the shortcut version if you need to. Otherwise, I believe you do have some number lines on your whiteboard, but they may not be big enough for some of the numbers. So go ahead, pause your video, and you work your way through these number lines and inequalities. So that's what your number lines should have ended up with. Well, that's it for the first part of lesson 1. So it's just graphing those one-step equations. Just keep plugging away. Remember, if it has a line underneath, it needs to be colored in. So step 1, find the number, put a circle. Step 2, decide if it has to be a filled in circle or an open circle. Filled in is when it has that equal to symbol underneath. And then the last step is to go through and decide what direction does my arrow go. Those of you that struggle with greater than, less than, just remember the open mouth eats the bigger number. Good luck.